Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Killer Miller, and today I'm going to bring you guys a video on my new IGL series, and this is going to be part one where I'm going to talk about freedom and micromanaging. So I've always kind of wanted to do something like this where I talk about IGLs, what you should be doing, think you should be doing, and just general like tips and ideas for ways you can help IGL your team better and ways you can be a better IGL as a whole. So this is going to be part one of that, and I decided to start with my freedom and micromanaging just because I thought not only is it a topic that a lot of people struggle with, specifically at like kind of the lower end, like tier 3-ish level. And so that's like why I wanted to start with this, because it's really good to know. And these things kind of lead into the rest. And plus, I think it will, like I said, it lead really well into the rest of the topics that I have later on down the road. So like I said, this is part one. And so, yeah, let's get into it. This is going to be all about freedom and micromanaging. And we'll start with micromanaging. So this is a very common problem that a lot of players have, specifically at the lower level of competitive play, where this is the concept of giving your players exact directions and specific details on what to do throughout the rounds. So this can cause a lot of problems because usually when you do this, let's actually just talk about it here. Why is this bad? So the first problem that it gives you is it's actually stagnation. It pulls players away from playing their game. So what this usually means is if you're giving a specific player a specific exact job, they're going to not really be able to play their game to their fullest potential. So I think a common idea is with duelists. A lot of players, specifically Jet, Jet has a get out of jail free card. You can look at it like a Chamber, maybe even a Reyna if that's being ran. Like these types of agents has a lot of room for making their own plays and doing their own things. So whenever you're micromanaging them, you're basically just putting them on a leash. You have this character that can do a lot and can be very explosive throughout the round, and you're not even allowing them to because you're being very specific. And that's just with the duelist role. That's other roles too. Characters that have a lot of utility, initiators specifically. How are they supposed to use their utility really well if they're giving a very, very specific job with way too many specific details? So that's the first problem that you're going to have. The second problem you're going to have is flexibility, which is basically the same idea as stagnation. This prevents players from making the right move. If you assign players the goal of, like, let's just say, I don't know, holding A main, or we only have to use an example. Let's say you give a player a specific goal, and that might not be the right move in the round. Maybe it is in the pre-round, but as the round continues to play out, that goal or the proper idea can change. And if you're giving people way too specific of a job, how are they supposed to make the right move? Well, they can't. They're not flexible enough, and that's not really their fault. That could be your fault as the IGL. And so the last thing is adaptation. And so this just comes down, this really pulls it into those first 2 points of stagnation and flexibility is no one team is the same. There's not a single team in the game of Valorant that's going to be the exact same as the next. Not a single one. Even if they run the same comp, it's just not going to happen. So you really have to make sure you're not being stagnant and you're being flexible through this idea, because if you're not, then you're just never going to be able to fully adapt. And that's why sometimes you see, specifically once again at a lower level, some teams can do really well against certain like play styles because it works with the way they're calling and micromanaging, but when they play against a different play style, they just get absolutely destroyed. So this is the the big problems that you have whenever it comes down to micromanaging. Did I skip a slide? No, I didn't. Okay. So here's like a kind of an example, and this is like, these examples are kind of hard because there's a million moving parts in this, and I simply have a picture. But let's just say, for example, you're IGLing Garage, or you're IGLing Haven, and you wanted to tell your players to take Garage, and you went very, very in detail. Like, I want you to smoke the window here. I want you to dash into this corner. I want you to flash this, and I want you to path up right behind the Jet, and then I want you guys to try and fight the C guy. It's like, that's way too much. That's too much going on. Because, like, what if Garage is too hard to take in the first place and they just run into a trap and die? Or what if, I don't know, what if there's nobody to even fight on C and now they're taking a ton of A space, which is, that's a little different. That's actually not typically bad. What if they want to back out of Garage early? There's a ton of examples there, a ton of reasons, but you can see the problem, right? If you give your team way too specific of a job, this is the problems that they might run into, because your team is taking Garage, and like, that's cool and all, but like, what if they don't need to dash? What if they don't need to use their flash? What if they need to use 2 flashes? Like, there's a million things that go into this, and there's a million ideas that go into this that can apply, but these are the big problems that you have. If you're being too specific, you're not usually going to allow for the right flexible play and not allow your team to make that right flexible play. So this also affects you as an IGL. So this is going to lessen your impact across the board and on the map, because you're consistently staring at your minimap and you're always trying to tell your team what to do. Because if you're always looking at your minimap, you're simply just going to miss out on what's in front of you. So a common role to IGL on is smokes. That's actually the role that I call on. And like, if I'm never going to know what's happening. This is a common problem that I had, and I'm still working on it a little bit as far as looking at the minimap a lot, where I would constantly look at the minimap, try to figure out what's happening, and it's like I'm just missing what's going on in front of my screen. So maybe I'm missing a timing, maybe I'm missing a play, or maybe I'm just missing a kill, which is the most common. There's a lot of things that that's gonna affect you, and it's gonna hurt your game specifically and make the game a lot harder for your team to play, because you as a player in the game, not just an IGL, are just not having a lot of impact. So there's a lot of other problems that go into that, but that's like the biggest things you need to think about as well. So let's talk about some misconceptions with micromanaging as well. You can still call for some specifics. This doesn't mean just say like take mid and that's it. Like no, or sorry, let's use garage. Let's go back to the garage example. That doesn't just mean take garage. Like you're welcome to assign specific players to that, and you're welcome to call for some utility. Like hey, Sky, dog, jet up garage, and let's smoke the window. That's fine. You can give some specific like ideas. You just can't give literally every single step of the way. Because going with that concept, like I said, with the smoke window and like dog up, then that'll allow for the rest of the things to happen. Like let's say you want to back out because the garage is too difficult to take. It's like, okay, well now they know and that's fine. Or let's say they want to split into C. It's like, you know, all these things are still possible. So you still do need to assign goals. Don't get me wrong. That doesn't mean you can't just sit there and do nothing. Like you still have to give ideas. You still have to give jobs, but you just don't have to give literally every step of that job. So now we're going to get into the second part of that, which is going to be freedom. And so this is basically allowing your team to make their own plays and do their own things. So this kind of just basically contradicts the old points that we were just making in a good way. And why is this good? So let's go back to what we were thinking when we were talking about all of these things, where it's stagnation, flexibility, and adaptation. So Valorant is very fast-paced and it's very flexible. You're going to play different comps. You're going to play different, you're going to have a different comp. You're going to have different people are going to be feeling themselves better on one day and worse the next. There's a lot of different things that go into this. People are also learning on their own, so they're improving on their own time. So there's so many different ideas and things that go into this. So you have to, giving your players freedom will allow these things to change. So that's why you need to assign these goals, is give them a job, but don't make that job super specific. Because once again, if you micromanage, this could just strictly result in the wrong play. And that's just how it is. So a good like team that comes into my mind whenever I think of like freedom is Cloud9's a good one as of recent. If you watch their games and you VOD review them, they're always moving around a lot. They're always having their players leave specifically on duelists, just like make calculated plays and do that according to the way the map's playing out. Another good example, and this team isn't together anymore, it's a free agent team, is Bait Academy with anyways, that team did a really good job too, because they were always pulling out just some crazy strats. That's because like they didn't just necessarily pull out super crazy strats, they were also pulling out these really ridiculous plays because they wanted to disrupt the setup very heavily. And like theirs is a little different because obviously you have to be specific with the play, but what I mean is they were being free and they were adapting based on what was going on the map, and that's where they would call something specific. So anyways, that's just like kind of a more in-depth take. So let's go back into, like I said, the old thing where I was talking about flexibility and stuff like that. So this most importantly allows for proper mid-rounding, and this is the most important part of this that everybody misses, or not everybody, a lot of people miss, is that a job that everybody should do, not just the IGL. Mid-rounding is not just up to the IGL. I cannot stress this enough. If you are on your team and only the in-game leader is mid-rounding, you are never going to get anywhere, and that's a fact. Everybody has to be able to call different things. So let's go back to the garage control example. Let's say you get Jet and Sky into the garage control, and let's say you're playing on your smoke troll and you're holding the C line. I don't know, I'm just giving specifics again. And I have a picture here in a second. I'll pull it up and we'll go back into this. And let's say you give that Jet and Sky that garage control and they get it. A million different things can happen from there, and that shouldn't be you to call. It does not matter how good that player's communication is. You're not going to know as IGL, who is not in that spot, what is going on as well as they are. And that's just the reality. What if they want to hit C after that? What if they got garage totally for free, or they got a kill in garage and they think C is free? They should be able to call that. As players in that zone, they should be able to say, let's group C, let's go now. What if they don't even want to take garage? Let's say Skydog's in and there's like a crazy trap set up and there's like 2 or 3 players there. They shouldn't even take garage. They say, we're not going here. We can't do this. What if they want to fast rotate to A? What if they realize that once again, it's stacked up, and what if they got the space at least and they think it's stacked up, then you guys can fast go to A. So this is all possible with freedom and simple goal assignment. So once again, I cannot stress this enough. This is the most important part of this concept, is that everybody needs to be able to mid-round. Every single player on the team. Because at the end of the day, you do not know what's going on in a certain area than the players that are there. So that doesn't mean the IGL can't mid-round, of course. You should still do that. You should still have the final say, but that's very important to understand and to think about. So once again, let's just say you assign this goal of take garage. That's all. And like, look at this. Obviously, this picture, once again, doesn't do it justice. It's a picture. But this allows for all these things to happen. What if they get garage, they want to go see? Okay, great. What if they don't want to take garage at all? Okay, great. Like, all these things are possible when you allow freedom. So, and this also, once again, let's go back to where we were talking about the IGL is going to lose impact in the round when they're micromanaging. This is going to allow you to do your own thing as well. You're going to be paying attention to what's going on in front of you more, so you know what's happening on the map with more of yourself, at least in your area, I should say. You'll probably be able to shoot your gun a lot better because you're focused a lot more on your screen and not just the mini map and your team. And so all these things are really going to affect the way that, the game is going to be played for you. So once again, let's jump back into freedom. At the end of the day, the IGL also does not know what's happening in the zone as well as the players there. So I already said this. At the end, like, you just don't know what's going on as well as the people there do, and that's just how it is. It does not matter how good their comms are; they know what's going on better than anybody. If you put two players in garage, they know what is going on in that area better than you, no matter how good their comms are. I just said that. And this allows the IGL to also play their game. This alleviates the idea of needing to constantly move pieces around and allows them to play their own game. So this is the most important part of giving freedom. And this kind of goes back to, once again, the micromanaging, the mid-rounding thing. And that's where that really, really comes in. And I'm going to go more into mid-rounding specifically and the best ways to do it in a different video. That's going to be a different part, but that's kind of the idea for that. And so that's just kind of all I wanted to get into for that. So yeah, that's going to be all for this. This is the end of this. I just wanted to, I'm going to make these kind of quick. I don't want to go super in, like, not super into detail. I do want to go into detail, but that's why I'm going to have a lot of different videos. So, but yeah, thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope it's helped a lot of people. It's very important. This is a very important concept specifically for lower level competitive players to understand as IGL. And this is very important for people that don't IGL specifically. You have to be able to mid-round, and that's a very important skill to learn. So that'll probably be the next video. Now that I'm recording this and thinking about it, but yeah, anyways, that's all I have. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. You can leave a comment, DM me on Twitter, Discord, all that will be in the description. So that's going to be all I got. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.